evening, I'm Guy Cater. Welcome to the Guy Cater Show. Tonight, Andre King is with me for the whole half hour. He's an extremely funny man with a great CV, and you're going to meet him. Ladies and gentlemen, Andre King. So good to see you, mate.
Good to see you, buddy.
And thank you for coming in, because you've just come back from overseas, haven't you?
I have. Got back last week from shows in Singapore, Ho Chi Minh City, or Saigon as the rest of the world knows it, Hanoi and Bangkok, and then home again.
How does your comedy go with an Asian audience, or are they all expats?
Oh, they're not all expats. I speak a little bit of languages.
Oh, really?
From around the world, bits and pieces. So I try and pick up more and more each time I visit those countries. So, for the Vietnamese out there who are watching the show on Channel 83 Sky, I think it is. I actually thought that my name in Vietnamese was An Mup, because I would talk to these people on the street and I would say, my name's Andre, and they would go An Mup. And I go, oh, okay, so that's my name in Vietnamese. Turns out An Mup means rotund fellow. So, it's the equivalent of being called fat bastard, I think.
They got that right.
Yeah. Well, spot on, actually. But that's southern Vietnam. In northern Vietnam, it's Nguy Biao. So exactly, Nguy Biao. That's how they say it, because they tend to swallow
and that means
their
fat bastard
consonant.
or Andre?
That means fat Andre, basically.
Andre, where did it all start? Where are you from originally?
Where am I from originally? I was born and raised in Mangakino.
Right.
In the central North Island, not too far from
pretty close to
from your
Tokoroa.
digs, actually. Yeah.
Beautiful lake at Mangakino.
Yeah, there used to be a great forest as well.
Well, my wife, there used to be. Now we have a lake, but it's a beautiful lake, and my wife's into and I kayak there.
All right.
Mangakino's fine. So you went to school where?
Mangakino Primary.
Yes.
Mangakino Kindergarten, then Mangakino Primary, and
Cool.
Then Mangakino High School.
Yes.
My father worked for the New Zealand Electric Power Board, as it was known back then. So we kind of got shunted around the country depending on wherever he needed to be. So we also lived in Wanganui, and I spent a lot of time in Whangarei, where my whānau are from.
Yes.
And then eventually to Auckland.
Did it affect your childhood moving so much, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because you build up relationships. You end up with adhesive mates. That you've known since you were a kid, and then one day, because Dad's got a new job. Well, goodbye everybody that I know, and hello, I'm in a room full of strangers, and it happens so often that you do develop a knack for getting good at making friends with people quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you finish school, and obviously you don't go straight into comedy when you leave school, do you?
Well, I've always been a performer. My father was quite, and still is in certain respects, quite big in the country and western scene. He was the lead guitarist for Patsy Rigger.
Oh, really?
So we had Brendan Turkin and Suzanne Prentice come over to the house, and didn't they sing at your wedding?
They did indeed. Yes, a lot of them.
Yeah. So I'm kind of surprised that we hadn't met before we actually met. So because for up until the age of 12, around the lower half of the North Island, I was known as the yodeling half pint.
You sing as well?
Yeah, I got into country and western with Dad, you see.
Wow.
So from the age of 5, I was on stage, and then after sort of bouncing around from job to job, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do, I eventually sort of hit rock bottom, if you like. I just ran out. I just ran out of stuff that I thought that I was interested in doing, and just decided, I'm going to give comedy a go. I'd worked as a magician for a little while, doing kid shows and clowning.
I did not know that either.
Yeah, doing clowning and kid shows, and I discovered a deep-seated hate of children. So I decided I needed to sort of go and do more adult-oriented shows, but I had no idea how to speak to adults. So I got booked to do this this young girl's 21st birthday and didn't know what I was doing. I went up to her and went, "Hello, would you like to see a trick?" "It's a very good trick." And she's like staring at me going, "No, I don't, you creepy, leave me the hell alone." So I was like, oh my God, I have no idea how to talk to adults. So I thought I'll go and sign up at the Classic Comedy Bar at 321 Queen Street. And that's what I did. I signed
what
up
age
to him.
were you then?
I was 28,
Right.
I think, yeah.
So you've got the stage experience.
Yeah.
You just don't know where to channel your...
Yeah, I just no idea how to talk to adults, how to entertain adults, because I'd been stuck entertaining kids for so long, and kids are shitbags. Can I say that?
You can certainly say
Can I
that.
say that? God,
Some of the best children's entertainers hate
hate
kids.
children. Ugh. Just open canisters of germ warfare, just wandering around trying to ruin your life. That's all they are.
You don't have any children, do you, Andre?
I do. I have two. I love them deeply. I do.
What age are they now?
Well, my eldest is now 18 and my youngest is 14. So, but pushing 30.
Yeah.
So a pair of them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. They.
Anyway, I digressed you. You went to the Classic.
Yep.
And you did the rookie nights?
Did like 2 rookie nights, and I'd done a bit of sketch work previous to that, and I'd ghost written for other comics before that, and essentially just got up and gave it a go. Did a Wednesday, and then got bumped to a Friday night late show, and then by the Saturday of that week, I was on the early show.
Wow.
Doing sort of 15 minutes. And then I think it was something crazy, like a month after that, we had the guys from Pop Comedy come through, and they saw me perform, and they just sat there and went, who the hell are you? Where have you come from? And I explained, basically, I've only been going a few weeks, and they threw me on Pop Comedy, and you've got that video.
Yeah, yes, we have. In fact, we're going to show that video right now.
Oh,
There.
Yes, hello. I'm from South Auckland. Sorry about that. Yes, I didn't mean to be from South Auckland. I was just driving through one day and my car broke down, so built a house next to it. So just before we kick off, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andre King, here for your entertainment this evening. And I just want to let you know before we sort of kick right into things that in the event that I do a gag that's a little too far out there for you, you find it crass or offensive, or just plain bad, really, I have these small white mints that I'm just going to toss out into the crowd there so that you can consume them, and hopefully it'll take your mind off how bad that joke really was. And hopefully, as an audience, you won't have seen these kind of diversionary Tic Tacs. Sorry about that. There you go. Thanks very much. All apologies. And I mean that from the heart of my bottom. Okay. Yes. So, went on a bit of a road trip over Christmas. Thought it'd be a good idea to shoot down to the South Island and see what was going on. And my car broke down in Palmerston North. That's an awe moment, people. Oh, thank you, yes. Had to get my car fixed. Couldn't afford to build another house. Yes. But as fortune would have it, I caught up with a friend of mine down in Palmerston North. He was a local. And just for a bit of a laugh, really, we thought we'd go to a cat show. Yes. He was given a blue ribbon just for walking in the door. Apparently he was judged best in breed.
That's a bit naughty.
it's the first time that word has ever been broadcast live on, well, not live, but live on New Zealand television without it being edited out. So,
Well, it was a very good gag.
well, thanks.
Did you write that?
I did. And I think it's kind of set the tone, because my next TV gig after that was with Eating Media Lunch, where they asked me to play Al Gourley, who was a director who had just shot a Māori porn film
Really?
called Anal Mana. And of course, being eating media lunch, just everything hit the fan, and
Yes.
everybody thought it was real. So I had 60 minutes trying to get hold of me for an interview. We had the Alexander Turnbull Museum wanting a copy of the movie for their archives.
Really?
Oh, it was ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. So and that piece, my second appearance on New Zealand television, held for a number of years, and I think it may still do, but held the record for the most number of complaints received by
Oh,
the
now that's really worth having.
yeah,
isn't it?
by broadcasting.
But you've done a lot of acting, haven't you?
I've done a wee bit.
Yeah, take us through some of it.
Well, I guess Anal Mana. That was the first foray. My next sort of branching out, if you like, was into more serious acting. Still a comedy series called The Pretender in 2005, which I was nominated for best
Supporting actor.
best comedic performance on New Zealand television. With the New Zealand Comedy Guild Awards, which
Right.
I won.
Yes.
Thank you. And then in 2008, we revamped that show and did a second season to coincide with the general election. And for that one, I was nominated in the Qantas Film and Television Awards for Best Supporting Actor.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've just kind of gone on from that, lots of other bit pieces. And I now have 2 American TV credits.
Wow.
So, it's one of those things that we're working on building.
Future's looking good.
Well, future's what it is.
Right. You've travelled a lot, though, haven't you, with your comedy?
I have, yeah.
And you made big inroads into the British comedy scene.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I got really lucky, man. I went over there. I didn't know anyone. I booked like 6 shows before I left New Zealand. But I learned very quickly that if I didn't hold my ground with the bookers, that I would just get walked all over. So, I went to the Comedy Store in Oxford Circus or Piccadilly, and I said to the person behind the glass there selling tickets, I'm a professional comic. I'm looking for paying gigs. And she said, "Oh no, if we ain't seen you, then you've got to do like a Monday night, a gong show." And I said, "Is it paid?" She says, "No, it's not paid. We don't pay acts that we ain't seen before." I said, "I think you're not quite understanding what I'm saying. I'm a professional comedian from New Zealand. I do paid gigs. I don't do free stuff." She goes, "All right, I'll go get the manager." So the manager comes out. He explains the same story. I explain the same story back to him. I'm a professional comedian. And that put them in a position of, well, we can't turn this guy away, because if he is a professional entertainer,
Yes.
professional comedian, and we turn him away, then he might be really famous and word will get out. I'm not. But what he then offered me was to come back on Thursday and do what's called a preview show. Which is
of your own show.
yeah. So it's like a 10-minute spot on a pro night. It's still unpaid, but they actually look at you
Right. Yes.
with a view towards booking you in for paid work. What I didn't realise at the time was that there was a 2-year waiting list to get a preview spot
Wow.
at the Comedy Store. So of course I showed up. I'd been in country a week. Didn't really have have my fingers on the pulse of the nation or anything. And it turns out that when I'm in New Zealand, I am Māori enough. In the UK, I am not nearly dark enough to get away with some of the jokes I have about my own
Really?
culture. So I got up on that stage at the Comedy Store and just died on my ass. And they never booked me again.
That was because you were doing New Zealand material.
And that's because I was trying to do New Zealand material to an English crowd, and
Yeah.
I'm not nearly dark enough for them to be able to accept that.
Yes.
They were all sitting there going, "What is this Eastern European fellow doing talking about the Maori?" Does he know we discovered the Maru? Yeah, sort of.
So they didn't book you, but something happened.
Well, yes, an error, a booking error occurred where my agent rang me and said that I'd been booked to do a theatre show in Newbury at the Orchard Theatre. So I drove out there and I showed up and there was myself and two other fellas, and we took a look at the lineup, and they had the MC's name, that was fine. It had the opening act's name, that was fine. And then it had Andre Vincent. Now, I don't know if you know this. I'm not Andre Vincent.
I do know that, yes.
You do know that?
I know this.
Yeah. I know this too. And I tried to explain to the other guys that were there, I'm not Andre Vincent, I'm Andre King. And they went, well, you're here and Andre Vincent's not. So I said, fine, let's assume then that it's a typo and they meant to put Andre King.
Yes.
They didn't.
Oh, there was an Andre Vincent.
There is an Andre Vincent.
There is.
And he's been going 25 years and he's a fantastic actor in the UK. And what happened was they meant to book Andre Vincent, but of course Andre King is next to Andre Vincent in their Excel spreadsheet, and they rang my agent by mistake and booked Andre.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got out there and I'd only been there 6 months or so, and I'm headlining a 1,000-seat theatre, and I'm just like, woohoo! Because by this stage I've got 6 months worth of material and observations and stuff that I'd actually amassed. So here was my opportunity to do it. I got on stage, I did half an hour, I got a standing ovation, and then got 2 encores. And
really?
Yeah. And we closed out the show, and I went, wow, that went really well. And then, of course, on the Monday, I got a phone call from Donna, who was the booking agent, who just went, yeah, hello, is this Andre King? I went, yes, it is. I went, and yes, it is. Who's this? And she says, it's Donna calling from Jongleurs here. Who the bloody hell are you? And, eventually we worked out what had happened, and she said, now, have you done any work for us before? And I said, well, no, I've only done preview spots for you guys before this gig. And but it went really well. She says, yeah, I know it went really well, because Jongleurs, I didn't know this either, but Jongleurs actually have their show managers mark each of the acts out of 10. And
you got an 11.
And then they return those details back to Jongleurs.
Yes.
So, of course, they went, well, there's no point in booking you for anything else then, is there? So, from that moment on, I just headlined.
Wow.
Headlined with, and because I was headlining the Jongleurs shows, that got my foot in the door with Glee Club and 99 Club and, top secret comedy shows and Mr. Ben's and,
yes.
The Big Night In. All of these other shows just started, all the doors were suddenly open because I was headlining Jongleurs.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So how long would you stay over there?
Well, I had a 3-month visa, and I was able to turn that into 27 months. So,
how did you do that?
I was travelling on an entertainer's visa, so
Yes.
it's only good for 3 months, and you have to be out of the country before it expires. So the day before it expired, I would then travel to Amsterdam and go and perform over there for a week, or go to Croatia, go and perform over there for a week, and then once it had actually expired, then I could come back into the country with a new entertainer's visa.
So that was an automatic thing? You got the visa?
My agent was
your
able
agent
to
worked
procure
out,
the
yes,
visa for me,
yeah.
so yeah.
Wow. So you're over there all that time. What made you come home?
My mother-in-law was ill.
Oh.
So we came back to basically say goodbye.
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand.
And she passed, and that left father-in-law on his own. So we've just kind of been hanging around and making sure that he's okay.
Whānau come first.
Yeah, whānau come first. I mean, it'd be lovely to carry on touring through the UK and working those big gigs, but you have to be able to live with yourself afterwards.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's been great for people like me. I've had the opportunity of working with you twice, once with Gish. A great night in Auckland.
That was a good time.
And then with Kevin Greaves and Bruce Fumey from England,
Yes.
from Scotland. Yeah, yes.
Scotland.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the stuff you do has been absolutely brilliant. You write all your own material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you've actually written for other comedians.
Oh yeah.
And so I just wondered if you ever get other comedians to write for you, or you do it all yourself.
No, I do it all myself. Although, because you mentioned Simon McKinney earlier.
Yes.
We both do accents.
Yes.
In our acts, and there is a bit of crossover and stuff, and we have written together on occasion as well. So there are bits and pieces that do overlap. So I try and, with the shows that we do, if we're both on the same lineup, then it's a matter of, are you going to talk about Scotland tonight? No, all right, I'm going to talk about Scotland. And he's like, well, you're going to do the Irish bit. You're going to because I got. It's like, no, you do that. I'll do Scotland.
Yeah,
Right.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Of the accents you do, which do you enjoy most?
They're all fun. They're all fun to do, man. Like
Yeah.
I've been a mimic since I was a kid. So you start off with cartoon voices like Snagglepuss and having some Murgatroyd to Mars even, and you just kind of build in. And then growing up, you watch all the American shows, and they've all got You got the Dukes of Hazzard running around talking like this, and you got Waylon Jennings sort of narrating the whole thing, going, now, this here ain't probably the best thing that these boys could here do. And, I was already doing country and western, so I'm singing sort of, the Marty Robbins hits and, Johnny Cash and stuff like that. And it was just a natural thing, a natural progression for me to move into doing accents. And once you get one, and then you sort of hear another, and all of a sudden you're watching movies and stuff, whipping out impersonations, and everybody get down, I just love it. I love it, man. It's pretend for adults.
Are there any comics that you really enjoy or have influenced you in any way?
Yeah. Like I'm a huge fan of Eddie Izzard.
Oh yes.
To the point where I like being a mimic. This is the tough thing about being a mimic, is that you can subconsciously start to take on people's idiosyncrasies without realizing that you're doing it. So at one point, I think it must have been about 2003, 2004, and Eddie Izzard had just released Glorious, I think it was, and of course I was already a huge fan of Dressed to Kill, and I'd been watching it sort of on repeat over and over, and then I got up on stage and went, "Hello, how are you? Good? No, I don't think that's a good idea." And then one of the other acts sort of came up to me and went, "So, you watching a bit of Eddie Izzard, have you?" "Don't know what you're talking about." "No, of course not." But yeah, and it wasn't until he went, "No, you're doing Eddie Izzard." And I went, "No." "Oh, I heard it myself then. Oh no." So yeah, I love Eddie Izzard. I love Norm Macdonald.
Oh yes.
Norm Macdonald is hilarious. He cracks me up so much. Mitch Hedberg, Bill Hicks. Although Bill Hicks, I have to have in small doses because I like how clever he is, but the rants and the tirades do start to get a bit.
No, I do understand. Yeah.
Give a bit of light and shade, man.
I found that about George Carlin sometimes. I know he's brilliant, but sometimes.
Well,
too
he
much.
was an angry man, George Carlin. Justifiably angry for the most part. But.
Now we have a video that I think we're going to show. We're going to watch it. It's over here.
So yeah, I live in South Auckland. I've got a couple of kids now as well, and they've brought in the new anti-smacking bill. That's all through now. And I got to say, as a parent, I'm not worried about this anti-smacking thing, man. Nah, doesn't bother me at all. Because I find you don't have to hit the kids. You don't. I find that if you just make a mean face and wave the gun around a wee bit, You've got to be tough to live in South Auckland, man. You've got to be tough. And I figured out how you can look tough in South Auckland without actually having to be tough. Just whenever you go to a bar and you order a drink, make sure they don't put a straw in it. That's it, because you can't be tough if you've got a straw in your drink. You can't. If you've got a straw in your drink, you can't stand there. Some dude's cracking on to your missus. You can't stand there and go, hey, bro, you better back off, man, or I'm gonna smash you. South Auckland's a confusing place to live too, isn't it? Hey, lots of different nationalities, different cultures, different customs, different national costumes. I went out to post a letter the other day, and while I was putting it into the slot there, damn near poked a Muslim woman's eye out. Lots of Indians. Lots of Indians in South Auckland, man. Ooh, all over the place. And I've always wondered with those little red dots, man. Those little red dots, if you scratched one off, would you find a lucky number underneath? I know that's not true, but imagine if it was. Imagine if you could actually do that. Scratch one off and there was a lucky number. Because then New Zealand immigration could adopt it as a policy, right? On whether or not to allow them to like, move into the country and live here as citizens. Think about that. You'd have Mr. Duck, Bunna, Duck, Duck, Muck, Duck, Duck. Duck, duck, a duck, duck. Landing in New Zealand, getting off the plane, going through customs, and old Joe Customs official would be standing there and he'd say, just a minute there, Mr. Bruck, Bunna, Duck, Truck, Muck, Duck, duck, a duck, 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 duck. Come here for a second, new policy, won't take long. Yes, I know it's a bit inconvenient. Seven. All right, I'll just check my list there. Seven. Ah, 7. Look at that. Congratulations, Mr. Duck, Bunna, Duck, Duck, Muck, Duck, 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 Duck. You're an instant Kiwi. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Andre King.
That video was fantastic. Thank you, Andre. Now, before we leave, and I'm sorry it's so short, anything you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I'm starting on a new sort of venture, if you like.
Yes.
Where I'm doing a weblog or a vlog, video log on online, and it's called Cantankerous.
Cantankerous.
Yeah. So it's basically an older gent who has been pushed into doing a daily video journal by his kids. So I play this character, Harold, who's a bit bloody cantankerous, is what he is, right? Because Harold likes to comment on sort of tech news. Because a lot of it doesn't make any bloody sense to him at all. What do you mean you've got to put a graphics card on a computer? Doesn't the computer already have the graphics? And what are the graphics anyway? Surely you just need to be able to type your emails and then click a button somewhere and it just disappears off into the ether. But no, because Harold gets confused about a lot of things a lot of the time, because like Harold actually thought that anal bleaching was changing your ringtone. So,
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Andre King. Andre, thank you so much, mate.
Thanks for having us, buddy.
Love it. That's our show for tonight, and I so enjoyed it. I'd like to thank my very special guest, Andre King, and invite you back here, same time, same channel next week for the Guy Cater Show. And remember, it's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice. Good night.